Well, I'm bringing my support person. How many times have you heard that sentence? How many times in an employment related matter have you questioned whether an employee can actually bring a support person or what the rules are around exactly how much they should be speaking in those meetings? If you're curious about this, or maybe you're an employee that's actually thinking, hey, am I allowed to bring one of my friends or family to this meeting? Then this episode is just for you. Hi everyone, welcome back to Lawlands. My name is Sanam and thank you so much for tuning in today. Look, we are talking support person, colleagues, friends, family. I get this question time and time again, and to be honest, it is a contentious point. I did post about this a while ago on LinkedIn and saw different kinds of comments on there from every person that comes to a meeting is a representative and they're considered a representative regardless of whether they're the employee's lawyer or a colleague or a friend. So what this means is that it is quite a contentious topic. It's a topic where people are not very clear on what the requirements are because a lot of people, I believe, go a bit above and beyond the requirements. Now, of course, that's not to say that you shouldn't have a support person attending certain meetings, but I question whether a support person is needed for every kind of meeting. Before we get into it, make sure that you follow the podcast and that you jump over on LinkedIn and give me a follow. All of the details are in the podcast description, and if you follow and subscribe today, then you won't miss those key employment law insights. All right, so getting into it, we look at support person and then we think, okay, who does this actually have to be? So let's have a first look at what is a support person. Now, a representative, that is somebody's lawyer, that's someone's advocate. It's someone there that can fully speak on behalf of the employee, and the person might be expected to do so in those situations as well. And with the representative, it is somebody that is there to give the employee specific advice or specific information that a support person might be able to give, because we have seen that. Of course, anyone out there is laughing with me, then you know why. It's because sometimes we do come across a support person that is a lot more invested and vocal, but representatives generally, they will be either advocates, union reps, or lawyers, but they're there, like I said, to provide specific advice. Now, when it comes to a support person, this is very different. We're looking at somebody that's coming along to provide more moral and emotional support. Yes, there may be some out there that are friends of a cousin of someone else who is a HR manager, and therefore they are well aware of all the HR rules and all of the compliance information. But generally, we do have a person as a support person that would be normally a friend or a colleague or a family member. And they're not really there to give advice that you would expect out of a representative or a lawyer. Now, it is really important to know that there is no clear difference between both of them under the law, but we know that there are certain details around what a representative is meant to be doing and how they need to represent. Now, you may be wondering, where exactly does a support person fit in? They can come up in different scenarios, and the reason why I say that this is contentious is because there has been this misconception where a support person is needed for every type of meeting. And this is where I would say that people are divided. On the one side of it, you've got employers that are saying, hey, look, for informal meetings, we don't need to have every single meeting that's informal with a support person, because by the time we wait for that person to come in to hold the meeting, the issue is going to be gone. And as an employer and an employee with your good faith obligations, you're trying to address things in a timely manner. Now, informal things that might come up, for example, maybe there was certain performance areas that you could see on that day. You're not doing a full-blown performance management process in this case. Maybe you just want to have a quick chat to the employee. Then absolutely, you should be able to have a quick chat to that employee, and you should be able to raise these as an issue. And let's say if you wanted to launch into a disciplinary meeting, then that's where you would offer a support person. So maybe you're launching into a disciplinary process, something a lot more formal, where the employee may be reprimanded or they might lose their employment as part of a termination. Then that's where you would provide the support person. And you need to make sure that you give them enough time to go and find someone. So for example, if you are saying to the employee that, look, you can have a support person come in, and let's say you deliver a letter on Friday afternoon, then it's not fair and reasonable to give them until Monday to find someone. Because a lot of times what we do is we say that you can bring a support person and or a representative. And if you look at both sides of it, then representatives usually won't be available on the weekend. So it is more of a disadvantage if you do it that way. So make sure that you do give them enough time. Make sure you allow them a situation where they can actually find someone in a reasonable time, whether that's giving them an extra day in terms of business days or that's giving them an extra couple of days. I'm sure the question is, when this person steps into these meetings, what can they actually do? Now, when we look at what a representative is there for, it is very, very different to a support person. A representative, even though there is no clear definitions, we have seen from cases very clearly laid out that the representative is there to really provide explanations, to provide advice to this employee, to give them a sense of understanding, something that a person that's a colleague or a friend or a family member cannot do. And like I said, you will have those, scenarios that will come up where maybe the person's ex-HR, or maybe they know someone or their partner's in HR, but that doesn't happen as often. Well, I say that, but then how many times have we all seen it? But it doesn't happen as often as a support person actually coming in and not really understanding what the parameters are for why they're there. Now, with the support person, you'll actually be quite surprised because a support person can, in fact, speak on behalf of the employee. They can actually go ahead and raise concerns and provide explanations. So they're not just there for moral support. They actually have a lot more rights than most people think. A support person can actually actively participate in a meeting, and that can be on behalf of the employee. So things like speaking on behalf of the employee, providing explanations, or even intervening when it's needed. So you really do, as an employer, have to accommodate the support person. You may be thinking, okay, this adds a spanner into the works when I try to have these meetings. What can I actually do? When it comes to all of the employment-related matters that can come up, these are the top tips that I would suggest. One, it is important that you provide the opportunity for a support person or representative when it comes to serious disciplinary meetings or matters that may be leading to termination. I'm not naive to the fact that a support person may come in and they may be very, very vocal about what their beliefs are about what's happened, how their friend or their colleague or their family has been disadvantaged. And it's really important that you set the ground rules there. It's not to say that you shouldn't accommodate the support person, but more so to understand what capacity the support person is there in. And that helps you set the scene from the beginning and the support person to set the scene as well as the employee. So what do I mean by this? I mean that when you start off the meeting and you acknowledge the fact that the support person is there, you write that in the meeting minutes. As you're conducting the meeting, if you start to see that this support person is quite vocal, maybe they're pitching in, then it is really important for you to confirm either at that stage, or you can confirm right at the beginning of the meeting in what capacity the support person is actually there for. So for example, if the support person is quite vocal and you turn around and say, hey, I just wanted to see if you are happy with this support person speaking on your behalf, then that is all you need to check off that box so that you also make the meeting easier on yourself as well by setting expectations and understanding where everyone is at. It is really important to make sure that the employee is aware that what the support person is saying will be what you are also taking note of. And if there is anything that support person says that maybe they're like, that doesn't sound very right, then at least they've been given the opportunity to understand that this is how you're approaching the situation. Another tip that I would highly, highly recommend would be making sure that whenever you offer a support person, you always put it in writing. And you make sure that when you are giving that time period for them to find the support person or the representative, that you have given them adequate time. So like I said, no late night messages to the employee saying that they only have 2 days to find a support person and organize everything and figure it out over the weekend. So definitely give them more time. Make sure it's adequate time. I would generally say top tip would be to give them at least 2 days, 2 business days to find someone. You can always say that the meeting's in 2 days and that they should notify you in 1 day of them bringing a support person. If an employee during the meeting chooses not to bring a support person or a representative, let's say they haven't brought one, they haven't told you about it, you're in the meeting, make sure that you keep a note of the fact that a support person was offered to the employee and the employee chose not to bring one. So confirm that basically in your communications with the employee during the meeting and keep a note of it in the meeting minutes. One thing that I want to leave this episode with is that it is really critical and it is important that you do not silence anyone in that room. So if you have a representative there, then absolutely they are there to be that spokesperson for this employee. They are there to provide advice and to give their opinion. When it comes to the support person, however, it's really important to set those expectations with them, but please do not silence them. It is really important to make sure that you're not saying shut up or please be quiet or anything like that. It is really important to allow them to continue speaking and allow them to chime in and pitch in, but set that expectation and confirm with the employee that they are happy with that. So it is very simple. I know it seems really easy, but a lot of people get confused around when they should be asking for the support person or representative to come in, what the time frames are, as well as who can actually speak in these meetings. And like I said before, one of the things that needs to be considered, and this is solely going to be up to you, there is no legal requirement to ask a support person to come to informal meetings. Generally, an informal meeting would involve you pulling the employee aside just to have a chat about maybe something that might have gone slightly wrong in the workplace. Nothing formal comes out of it. You're not disciplining them. You're not terminating them. So if that is the case and you really want to meet with the employee in an informal capacity, just to address something very small and more so just to put it on their radar, then you can absolutely do that. And there is no legal requirement for a support person to be there. But I will link the information that the Employment NZ website has around informal meetings. And they do say that if you want to offer a support person and that's something that you want to do as an employer, then you could ask the employee to bring a support person. But like I said, there's no legal requirement around this. And I do feel like sometimes we are pushing for support person in a lot of scenarios where it doesn't need to be. Well, that's it from me, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Remember, the support person can do a lot more than you normally think that they can. They're there to intervene, provide information, provide necessary support, and also speak on the employee's behalf if the employee chooses for them to do so. So just keep that in mind. Now, before I close off, I just wanted to say thank you so much again to everyone for tuning in and for liking and following the podcast. I really appreciate it. And I hope that you have been enjoying the episodes. If there is anything in particular that you are dealing with, or maybe there's some changes in the employment relations space that you want to have a look at and you want some more information on, then absolutely feel free to reach out to me. The email address is in the description, but just in case, it's asklawlens@gmail.com, and feel free to email me. It'll be great to kind of hear what you're dealing with in the workplace and if there's anything that you need addressed specifically. Well, thank you so much, everyone. I hope you have a lovely day, night, evening, morning, whatever it may be. And guess what? I'll catch you in the next one, everyone.